Welcome, everyone. I'm Alfred Lambremont Weber, and today we have the extraordinary privilege and great pleasure to be with Venus historian, Professor and Dr. um, Raymond Keller, PhD. Who has prepared a very special program. And it's so special that I'm going to let him describe it because there are a number of components to it. And so without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Keller, to Ray, to explain it to us and to bring us further into the program. So over to you, Ray.
Thank you, Alfred. Well, so many people over the years have asked me questions about what it's like on Venus. And my friend Rob Potter started collecting the questions and submitted them to me before we went to Germany in 2022 for the largest UFO conference in Europe, sponsored by Anya Schaefer in the Venus Spirit. And these questions all pertain to various aspects of life on Venus and its relationship to the planet Earth. And they're in a PowerPoint, 40 questions, and I'm going to present it now. At this time, this is the first time that it's been on the air on any podcast. So here we go. Okay. And it's everything you always wanted to know about Venus and the Venusians, but were afraid to ask. So we're going to go slide from the current slide. Okay, the first question is, can the Venusians predict the future? And of course, in Alfred's website, we frequently look at other dimensions and other timelines and chronographies and so forth. So this is a very timely and appropriate question. Well, the Venusians have the ability to scan 7 alternate timelines. Time moves as both an octave wave and a stream of tachyon particles through the vastness of space. While the Venusians cannot scan ahead in their own particular timeline, they can approximate the direction it is moving in through the observation of alternate timelines. So here's an interesting picture I found, representative of an alternate timeline on Earth, going back to the Roaring 20s, where they had actually advanced to the technology of a type of video phone like the ones that we have today. Question 2, and then Alfred, if you have any questions about any of these, please let me know, and we could dwell on those topics
Sure.
for a little bit as well.
Sure, thank you.
So how many years, as measured by Earth time, can a typical Venusian live? Venusians in the 3rd and 4th dimensions can live anywhere between 1,000 and 3,500 years, depending on their proportion of B to human DNA. A typical reincarnation cycle for Venusians born on other planets is 13 lifetimes. Venusians in the higher dimensions are beings of light, hence they are immortal. And here's a song from Queen, and there's Freddie Mercury there who sings it. Who wants to live forever?
Well, this if we could go back to this, this just raises so many questions. So I assume then that human souls on Earth are different from Venusian souls on Venus?
Yes, although there is a transfer of DNA through many years of close contact between Earthlings and Venusians. But in the history of the Venusians, some 25 million um, years ago, or 18 million years ago, um, the planet was invaded and by forces from Aldebaran and the Pleiades, and there was some experimentation done creating a fusion, a mixture of the DNA from bees and the indigenous species of Venus with the Earthlings, or with the humanoid population. That they came from the planet Norca, but actually it's discussed in this presentation.
I see. Thank you.
You're welcome. So this was a question, how do Venusians get into a scout ship when it appears that there are no doors on it? So when you look at the photographs from George Adamski, Howard Menger, and others of Venusian scout ships, there doesn't appear to be any physical door on the craft. So that was a very interesting question. The answer is that the metal of the ship is composed of a seamless nanobite particle that can be magnetically manipulated to open or close a door. Venusians carry a portable device known as a nimbus to mentally direct the shuffling and moving of these particles by magnetic forces. Question number 4, do Venusians have a message for humanity? And Helena Blavatsky picked up on this message. She was the founder of the Theosophical Society, born in 1831 in Russia and died in 1891 in the United Kingdom. She was the first to write a treatise on the significance of the planet Venus in the occult realms and summed it up best: to form a nucleus of the universal bonds of humanity without distinction of race, creed, sex, caste, or color, to encourage the comparative study of religion, philosophy, and science, and to investigate the unexplained laws of nature and the powers latent in humanity. So this is the plan for humankind, the same path of cosmic evolution and development that has taken place on all of the now advanced worlds in the Galactic Confederation. So why? Why are Venusians here on Earth? Venus is but one of 601 other member worlds in the Galactic Confederation of Light. Many of our ancestors came originally to Earth from these Confederation worlds for the purpose of establishing colonies here. The space people have been watching our progress and helping to guide our evolution ever since. Once we have developed our spiritual nature to such an extent that it surpasses our technological advancement, we of Earth will qualify to become a member of the Confederation and join with our brothers and sisters of other planets in their travel among the stars. How long have Venusians been on Earth? Venusians have lived among us, helping us behind the scenes in our cosmic evolution since the Stone Age. At right is a depiction of the goddess Inanna of ancient Mesopotamia, the precursor to Ishtar, Isis, Aphrodite, and Venus. And interestingly enough, when our ancestors looked up at the heavens, when the sky was much clearer and the planet was much younger, they were able to observe the 5 million kilometer long tail, like a cometary tail that follows Venus, because as Venus goes around its orbit around the sun. It's impacted by the solar wind, which whisks off chunks of the atmosphere, ionized particles of the atmosphere at the northern pole, which follows the planet like golden tresses, is what they look like from the surface of the earth. So this is how our ancient ancestors identified Venus as being a goddess. So what can we as humans do to help the Venusians get their message out? This is my favorite Sunday school poem. I'd rather see a sermon than hear one any day. I'd rather one would walk with me than merely point the way. So it's random acts of kindness that will win over the hearts of our neighbors one at a time. It's not necessarily some kind of mass movement or anything. It begins with each individual in their heart and extending a hand of fellowship to our fellow beings on the planet. Do Venusians eat and metabolize food like humans? Eating and metabolizing food as we of Earth do is a necessity on the third and fourth dimensional levels of Venus. Food is grown on the tiers of huge hydroponic towers that pump the water up through vast underground aquifers. Do Venusians in the higher dimensions need food? This is the 9th question. So higher dimensional Venusians do require food when they are incarnated into denser material bodies on Earth or other developing planets, serving missions as cosmic avatars. When inhabiting the celestial realms as light beings, no food as we know it is needed. Where do higher dimensional Venusians get their energy? Higher dimensional Venusians get their energies to sustain themselves from the emanations of cosmic energy and waves from stars and other celestial bodies. Question number 11. Can Venusians change their shape or appearance? Higher dimensional Venusians can change their shape or appearance when the need to do so arises. This is from Virgil's Aeneid. At right, Lady Venus appears to her son Aeneas and his Trojan soldier companion Achates as a huntress, directing Aeneas on the path that will lead to his destiny in founding Rome and the Roman Empire. Are all Venusians caring, loving, and peaceful? For the past 14,000 years or so, the Venusians have steadfastly remained a caring, loving, and peaceful race. However, during the times of conflict between Atlantis and Lemuria, some Venusians established themselves as priests and priestesses, kings and queens, and fought one another. These were physically removed from Earth to cause no more harm, as these were rogue elements. Question 13. How can one tell if someone is a Venusian from the physical plane of existence? They may have extra tear ducts. They may have a slight ridge through the center of their forehead, largely undetected for the most part. You'd have to look very carefully. And they may have extra vertebrae. Through lumbardization, an extra vertebrae due to the non-fusion of the first two sacral segments. Question 14. This was an unusual one. This was from a woman in Germany. Do Venusians have pets? Yes, they do. Lady Venus herself tended to bees and doves. So according to mythology and history, bees are sacred to Aphrodite, the goddess of beauty and love. Bees were considered to be the souls of her priestesses who passed away. Honey is believed to be rich in magic, and it is drenched with the goddess's power. What are some popular pets common on Venus? Well, horses are very popular, and I have several cases in my books of Venusians coming down and riding horses um, in the Sierras in California and other places coming here as tourists. And then there's a type of dragon known as a Garuda, and it's actually a very sentient species, and there are statues of these Garudas in the garden of the dragon emperors in China. And on one of my visits to China, I have a picture of me standing next to these statues. They're holding up, each dragon is holding up a sphere. It's a kind of nimbus for manipulating matter and energy. Can Venusians see, hear, touch, and smell better than humans? Question 16. Yes, their sensual abilities are heightened with the infusion of bDNA from the ancient times on Venus, when the Norcon settlers from the Tau Ceti star system were conquered by invaders from Aldebaran that converted them into a hybrid bee-human race. At right is a Mexican pulp art from the inside cover of Cosmic Ray's excellent Venus Adventure. Question 17, do Venusians have other senses than the 5 senses attributed to humans? Yes, among them are bilocation, clairaudience, clairsentience, clairvoyance, levitation, mediumship, precognition, psychometry, retrocognition, telekinesis, teleportation, telepathy, etc. So finding the key. Humans have some of these abilities latent within them, needing to psychically develop them with the help of the Venusians and other extraterrestrials. So we have many of these. There's a list of about 22 psychic extrasensory powers that we have as humans. But like muscles that go unused, they haven't been exercised, so they've atrophied. So we need to do that. And once we're in greater contact with the Venusians, we'll be able to more quickly develop these. When I'm in the presence of Venusians, like Omnek Onek, we can communicate telepathically through the transmission of images, and then we have an instantaneous understanding of what the other is trying to say. So, do Venusian bodies deteriorate like humans after so many years? Yes, they do while passing through incarnation on Earth's physical plane, material plane. And they agree to accept living under Earth's planetary conditions in order to more fully integrate with human societies. Question 19. Can Venusians regenerate themselves? This is from my book, Lady Columba, Venus Revelations. This is Annabelle Kreb, originally from Greensburg, Pennsylvania. She was taken to the far side of the moon, where her DNA was extracted, and a new body was created, a new teenage body out of her DNA, and then her consciousness had been previously withdrawn from her dying body and reintroduced into her new body. This is Annabelle Krebs' own artwork about this process, and the explanation for it is in the book. And this artwork appears at the University of Arizona at Tucson in the art department, the museum there. So stem cells can be accessed for a limited amount of lifetimes to create younger bodies. Consciousness can be withdrawn from a dying body and downloaded into a new one, equivalent in youth to that of a teenager. Is the queen bee like the president of the United States? I thought that was an interesting question. No, she is selected by the collective female population only and rules with guidance from a male regent. She also has the responsibility of being the executive officer for the Galactic Confederation, with Venus being the presiding planet in that body. So this is me with a woman that on Earth went by the name of Dolores Barrios. What are some of the Queen's duties in the Hive collective? She supervises the incubation pods, hive population control, education, and work assignments through the collective and beyond. This is an interesting artwork from Fritz Lang's Metropolis movie made in Germany in 1927. The beehive-like building served as the nerve center for the workers' collective state. The movie script was based on the teachings of Nikola Tesla, who imagined a beehive as the perfect model for modern society. Question 22. How do physical Venusians reproduce? Not long after conception, selected fertilized eggs are moved to incubation pods where they are cared for by the queen's attendants under the direction of the Science Council until such time that they emerge from their respective pod and are assigned to a caretaking female in their designated work unit's nursery section. In this process, women are freed from the travails of both childbirth and subsequent caretaking and rearing. So at right, you see assigned caretakers in the work unit's nursery. How many Venusians are living among us on the Earth right now? Up until the dawn of the atomic and space ages, there were only 4,000 on the Earth at any one time, according to Rumi, a poet from the Middle East in the 13th century. Subsequently, the number has been augmented to some 12,000, mostly positioned in safe houses in those nations with nuclear capabilities and/or successful space programs. At right is a scene of campers, Jack Nicholson and Peter Fonda, to be exact, who portrayed campers who cite UFOs and discuss the Venusians living among us in all walks of life. So in the movie, Jack Nicholson portrays a familiarity with some of the books of George Adamski and is quoting from them. So very interesting, very funny scene too. Question 24, having lived on Venus for 10 weeks, which planet do you prefer more, Earth or Venus? I'll have to give it some thought. So here's Earth, where the four horsemen of the apocalypse are riding. And so we're always on the brink of catastrophe and cataclysm. The doomsday clock is set at 3 minutes to midnight. And then in contrast is Venus, where there are paradise cities built underground where all the needs of everyone are fully met. Question 25, is the moon inhabited by Venusians or any other extraterrestrials? Yes, the Venusians maintain their largest base, moon-based Clarion, on the far side of the moon, whence they dispatch spacecraft to monitor our planet. So this is from my collection of artwork by Lady Columba, who was the secretary to Truman Bethlehem, that Alfred, that you had mentioned in the last program from the Wikipedia article. Other Confederation planets also have a presence on the far side of our moon under the watchful eyes of the Venusian guardians at Clarion Base. So this is from a 1959 photo of the backside of the moon once the Ranger probe emerged from the other side. So you could see all the dome structures on the surface of the backside of the moon. So that's a real photo. Is Venus coming apart, a doomed planet, and that is why Venusians are coming to Earth? No, following a massive meteorite bombardment of Venus' surface millions of years ago, the Venusians were able to successfully transfer their civilization underground and adapt to the new environmental situation. Nevertheless, a few operational structures remain visible on the surface. At the right, the Venusian commander Valiant Thor, and then on the left explained about the underground civilization on Venus to his friend evangelist Dr. Frank E. Stranges on the right, who visited Valiant Thor in the Pentagon in the late 1950s. Very interesting that Dr. Frank E. Stranges was an Assembly of God minister and also a police chaplain. Question 27, do Venusians believe in God? What do they think about Jesus? And this was a question that we were discussing on the last program, especially in reference to the Urantia. But I'm going to read something from my sixth book, number 6 in the Venus Rising series, Flying Saucers and the Venus Legacy, which specifically answers that question. Answer, they do not worship God per se, as we understand God to be, but recognize that there is an infinite creator constituted of spirit that permeates the entire fabric of the cosmos. Now that agrees with the Bible, because in the first epistle of John, it says, God is a spirit, and those that worship God worship in spirit and truth. So they see the divine, the Venusians, see the divine spark of the infinite creator in everything and everybody. There is no religion higher than truth. Manifesting kindness assures one's continual progress up the celestial ladder to cosmic perfection. There is no need for religious laws and ordinances when kindness is the prime motivator in life. They do recognize Jesus the Christ as a supreme manifestation on earth of the God consciousness. They also greatly esteem the Buddha, Luther, Mary, Muhammad, Rumi, Annalise Guerin, and other avatars that have been incarnated from Venus and other celestial orbs to redeem us from the darkness and lead us onto the path of further illumination. So that's the Flying Saucers and the Venus Legacy. Okay, question 28. Who was the first in the solar system, Earthlings or Venusians? When the Norcons first arrived at Venus from the Tau Ceti system some 25 million years ago, the lemurs were the most intelligent life form to be found on Earth. I made a little joke here. I think we got off at the wrong stop. Not a whole lot to work with here, said Sanat Kumara. We've definitely got our work cut out for us, replied Lady Venus. Okay, Question 29. Can Venusians levitate items? Can Venusians teach humans to levitate? Now, these questions were asked by readers of my Venus books or people that attended my lectures that were collected by Rob Potter. These aren't necessarily the things I would have focused on myself. So these are all just random answers. Yes, levitation is among the many extraordinary powers possessed by the Venusians. They can levitate items in themselves. They can and have taught certain advanced humans the art of levitation throughout the centuries. Many of the yogis of India and the Far East have been known to levitate. And then if you read in some of the sections of Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda, he elaborates on life on other planets. And all throughout the 6-volume set of Life and Teachings of the Masters of the Far East, published in the 1930s by Baird T. Spalding, of his many trips to India, Nepal, and Tibet with various teams of researchers. He also explores these various connections. Question number 30. Can Venusians use telepathy with one another? Answer. Most of the women are telepathic, even over great distances. However, only about 1/3 of the men possess this ability. The infusion of human DNA from Earth over countless millennia into the Venusian genetic strain has adversely diminished its power in some Venusian males. At right, true to Miley Cyrus' song, Party in the USA, I guess this guy at the left never got the memo. Okay, question number 31. Can Venusians use telepathy with humans? Yes, some Venusians can focus their minds sufficiently to both send and receive messages from Venusians, about 5% of the total population at this point. These are mostly persons also exhibiting other psychic abilities, mostly women. For men, it would certainly help in this area if they were to get in touch with their feminine side or their anima. I can give you a little clue as to whether you might have telepathic abilities. It involves your perception. When you look at a pyramid, do you start with the base and go to the top, or do you start at the pinnacle at the very top and then go downward? And if you start at the top, that means that you have a focal point. You have a better tendency toward moving to illumination. So not only telepathy, but other psychic powers. That's just something I learned while traveling in Asia. Okay, question 32. Can Venusians carry out telepathic communications with non-humanoid beings? So this is a drawing by Annabelle Krebs, Lady Columba. You see herself sitting next to a Russian listening to Vorton in an assembly meeting of the Confederation of Planets on the space platform, the Leviathan, which took off from the surface of the moon. And at the right of Commander Vorton, the lady with the beret is Commander Aura Raines. So we see that the article in the Wikipedia didn't quite get it right because here you see Annabelle Krebs and Commander Raines appearing as different people in the same picture. So Annabelle Krebs, Lady Columba, was not Aura Raines, but she was the secretary to Truman Bethlehem, the one who's the contactee whose wife got upset thinking that Annabelle was really Aura Raines, but and in fact, you see in her own drawing of her own experiences as a contactee that she was a friend of Aura Raines, but wasn't the same individual. So, but in the picture, you also see Ganesha beings in the far right of the picture. Then you see a squid-like being. You see a hybrid bee people. And this drawing, which was made by Annabelle Krebs in 1957, also depicts a blue avian in the Confederation of Planets. So the blue avians are recognized as being in the Confederation of Planets for much longer than most people really think they have been. And then, yes, with certain pets, Venusians can carry out telepathic communications with various pets, particularly cats. There's a gentleman from England who was became a walk-in for a Tibetan monk named Tuesday Lobsang Rampa, and he went on to write about 13 different books about Tibetan society and life on other planets, including a trip to Venus. And in that book, he also described Fifi Gray Whiskers, his cat, that his pet cat had amazing psychic abilities and could that he could communicate with on a very high level. Tuesday Lobsang Rampa. Check out those books. So question 33, how many dimensions are there in space? A lot of people wonder that. In accordance with string theory, there can be up to 11 dimensions, although the Venusians at varied tiers of existence can only operate in 7 of them. At the right is a speculative look, an artist's conception of the 11-dimensional omniverse model. Question 34, can Venusians see more colors than humans? Thought that was an interesting question. So like the bees that share in their genetic strain, the Venusians cannot see the red color, but they see ultraviolet. Although the Venusians perceive a fairly broad color range, they do not perceive them like humans do. They can see yellow, blue-green, blue, violet, ultraviolet, and also a color known as bees purple, which is a mixture of yellow and ultraviolet, but not red. Instead of red, they see other reddish wavelengths, though, such as orange and yellow. Differentiation is not equally good throughout the range and is best in the blue, green, violet, and bees purple colors. So at the right, for some Venusian bees, the future is looking so bright that they have to wear shades. Okay, do Venusians have antennae? And if so, why? Why do they have antennas? So when the Vril-Yaran from the Aldebaran star system invaded Venus and began tampering with the Norcan and bee DNA, they also infused some of their own into the new Venusian strain. Thus, each individual hair of a Venusian can serve as an antenna to both receive and transmit thoughts and energy far beyond the norm. So like any wire, it can be both a transmitter and a receiver. So this is true of the Venusian hair. At right, in the period between world wars, Brill Society women in Austria and Germany would not cut their hair, realizing that it served as an antenna for communication with beings in the Aldebaran star system, 65 light years away. So, question 36. Do Venusians have different personalities like humans? That was a good question. Yes, Venusians at all tiers of existence manifest different personalities through their emotions. The difference between the Venusians and humans comes in the increased exercise of control that Venusians hold sway over how they express these emotions, maintaining an attitude of calm and respect. So my Venus Rising books will provide you with a wide experience of Venusian personalities and emotions that you can hold in your hands and check out for yourself, meeting many Venusians and understanding their histories and background in the Venus Rising series of books. You can control how you feel, but you can always choose how you act. Are Venusians closer in appearance to the little green men we see in science fiction and horror movies? Omnek Onek, the ambassador from Venus, points out that Cold War sci-fi movies paint an erroneous picture of life on her home world. So there you see Zontar, the thing from Venus. It's coming for you from space to wipe out the Earth. Whereas in 1951, the first version of The Day the Earth Stood Still depicts a more accurate Venusian character in the emissary Klaatu, as seen on the right. Question 38. Do Venusians really look anything like humans? Answer. As Venus is our sister planet and in closest vicinity to our world, it comes as no surprise that humans and Venusians have been mating for at least as long as there is a recorded history on Earth. Therefore, much of the outward bee appearance has given way over the millennia to a return to the Norcon humanoid typology, quite similar to the typical Earthling. Question 39. What kind of languages is or are spoken on Venus? Venusians, when they are not using telepathy, speak a sort of language similar to German and Basque. Due to magnetic reconnection in the solar winds over the North Pole, there has always been a portal open to Venus over the lands of the north of the European continent. Venusian contingents that survived the destruction of Atlantis made their way to Western Europe, forming the initial Basque communities. Due to the many extraterrestrials resident on Venus from throughout the Confederation and beyond, there are also other strong linguistic influences on spoken Venusian. Most Venusians can speak numerous Earth languages. At the right is Freya, the Norse goddess of love and fertility, and representing the Norse interpretation of Lady Venus. That's where we get the word today, Friday, from, is from Lady Freya. Okay, question number 40. Can you give us an example of what Venusian sounds like and your translation of it? So the ambassador from Venus, Omnek Onek, seen on the left with Anya Schaefer in Germany, gives us the answer here. Amwal Abaktu Baraka Bashad. May the universal love and blessings be. And the word Abahar itself is the name for Venus, or planet of the bees. Question 41. Was Nikola Tesla a Venusian? Well, Tesla's biographer, Margaret Storm, the author of Return of the Dove, The Story of Freedom's Star in 1957, explains how Tesla himself had been brought here in a spaceship, that he was not born on this planet, and that he had been brought here from Venus in 1956. I also to provide further information detailing Tesla's Venus connection on pages 125 through 156 in my first book in the Venus Rising series, Venus Rising, A Concise History of the Second Planet. So here's a drawing of Tesla, the original Superman from another planet, from Venus. Question 42. Can you provide other examples of Venusians who have either incarnated or came to Earth to provide us with further light and knowledge? After returning from Venus in mid-February of 2013, I prepared 2 PowerPoint presentations on the contactees and wisdom of the ages, which I introduced at a meeting of the Northeast Ohio Coast to Coast Radio Discussion Group in Cleveland, Ohio. And I think in the future, because it's very long, well, it's like an hour long, but it talks about great souls that have incarnated on Earth that have their origin on Venus, and maybe that could be a future program here. But we'll look at some of those at the end of this. So, question number 43: Are Venusians superior in brain power, that is, intellect and reasoning, to Earthlings? They are millions of years cosmically evolved than typical humans. In the words of the Mormon prophet Lorenzo Snow, seen at the right, they, the extraterrestrials whom we perceive as gods and angels, were once as we are now, and we are becoming, through continued cosmic evolution, as they are now. In other words, they have a jump start on us in this area of development. Can Venusians make themselves invisible to humans? Higher dimensional Venusians can make themselves invisible at will. Venusians from the physical planes of existence, the 3rd and 4th dimensions, must take on a cloak of invisibility technologically created through the nimbus that they carry in their left hand. So, photo it right. Invisible Venusian standing with white cow in a snowstorm. Okay. Can Venusians travel backward and forward in time? Yes, but not in their timeline of origin. They can travel into the past and future of alternate timelines. A disruption of the tachyon field surrounding a time probe might propel a chrononaut into the past or future of their own timeline. This type of anomaly would require adjustment or correction by the metrons or time police to reestablish the proper flow of time. At right, you see the contemporary eco-activist Greta Thunberg, and doesn't she look hauntingly similar to the girl in the photo taken at a gold panning camp in the 1898 Canadian Yukon? Question 46, can Venusians teleport? Venusians can teleport themselves easily enough within planetary environments, hitching a ride on any planet's respective magnetic lines of force. For longer distances, that is, between celestial spheres, portals must be utilized for teleportation. So when you read my book, Venus Rising, A Concise History of the Second Planet, there's extensive chapters on time travel, vortices, portals, and so forth, and invisibility. And a lot of these questions are answered in detail with scientific footnotes and everything all throughout. Question 47, are Venusians warm or cold-blooded? They're cold-blooded like the bees. Venusians share cold-bloodedness with the bees. In other words, their body temperature is in tandem with the temperature prevailing in the environment in which they find themselves. Bees are cool, no doubt. Question 48, do Venusians get colds or viruses? Those Venusians that are incarnated on the Earth's material plane are subject to, as every human, to contracting colds and viruses. This is all part of the learning process. Those other Venusians just visiting will generally not be subject to these same pathologies. Before they enter the Earth's environment, leaving a ship or passing through a portal, there's like a red ray that comes down and like a kind of a heat ray. It um, uh, like disinfects them and getting back on the ship. You might recall that it was a theme of one of H.G. Wells' novels, The War of the Worlds, in 1898. Despite their superior weapons, the Martian invaders were not able to overcome the simplest microbes that swarm and multiply in a drop of water here on Earth. Of course, these are Martians, so what do they know? Question 49. Are Venusians curious beings or just driven to accomplish specific missions? Like humans, the Venusians are extremely curious about the Earth's varied environment, as well as the great variety of cultures that have emerged on Earth. And as with Earth people, sometimes being overly curious has brought them undue attention from Earthlings. Sometimes Venusians have been spotted showing up at flying saucer conventions, such as in the case of Dolores Barrios at Mount Palomar, the Skyline Lodge in California, or Valiant Thor at Howard Menger's farm, apple orchard in New Jersey. Question 50. Are some of the modern inventions like Teflon, microwave cooking, Kevlar materials, spacecraft propulsion, transistors, microcircuitry, etc., attributable to Venusians? Most definitely. Many great advances were made by the late 1940s forward, with the back engineering that was applied to recovered crashed saucers from Aztec, Roswell, and the San Augustine Plains in New Mexico. These were reconnaissance craft sent to monitor the testing of atomic weapons, but whose systems became destabilized with too close a proximity to residual radiation fields in the area. Question 51. Are Venusians aware of any dangerous beings in the universe that we should know about? The former Canadian defense minister during the Pearson administration of the early 1960s, Paul Hellyer, 1923 to 2021, estimates that there are some 80 species of extraterrestrials visiting the Earth and even living among us, of which he estimates only a small minority have bad intentions toward the human race, especially pointing out the reptilians and the grays. Question 52. Are the Venusians communists? No, they live in voluntary association one with another and operate within a system of happiness and abundance for all, just as the early apostles of the Lord Jesus Christ did, as recorded in Acts chapter 2, verses 44 through 45. And all that believed were together and had all things common. And the Christians sold their possessions and goods and parted them to all men as every man had need. So communists on Earth enforce an alleged equality by coercion. Therefore, the Venusians might better be called communists to separate them from communalists, to separate them from Earth's communists and their corrupt dictatorial regimes. So, there's a fine line here because one is by mutual and voluntary association, and the other is forcing people to do that. So when Jesus came and taught the apostles about this communalism, then he was thought to be a radical in his time. So here's a poster that some artist made up. Reward, arrest this man, Jesus Christ, revolutionary. So on behalf of the Venusian hierarchy of light, many thanks for your kind attention. Amal Abaktu Baraka Bashad.
Yeah, Ray, I have one question, and perhaps it's a misunderstanding I didn't quite get, and that is there was a reference to the bee appearance of the Venusians. Did I get that correctly, or?
Yes. So 18.5 million years ago, uh, when when Venus was invaded, um, they were uh, involuntarily mixed with the indigenous population of bees, but the Norcon population there, and to make like a worker race. But then after countless millennia and after they were freed and in fusion with other extraterrestrial races, they returned to their largely um, uh, human appearance.
I I see. So that the current Venusian uh, has bee DNA, including extraterrestrial DNA from other planets that was acquired during this post uh, invasion,
Yes, that's right. I
right?
have a picture of me that was taken by Shari Lynn out at the Hindu temple, Golden Temple in
Uh-huh.
West Virginia near Huntington, or with the this very large bee, like a queen bee, came and landed on my shoulder, and
Oh,
it stayed there for 4.5 hours,
oh, amazing.
and then there was time to go, and I just spoke to it, and I said, I've got to pack up and go home, and then it just flew away.
Right, right. Well, there are certain, I don't know whether they're apocryphal or not, but that Earth, uh, uh, that the humans on Earth are part of the diaspora from the reptilian attacks on Lyra, which was the human, uh, uh, Lyra was the human sanctuary. And the Draco reptilians attacked Lyra, and there's been a human um, uh, sort of we are part of the human diaspora throughout the universe and in this solar system. The Draco reptilians at 4D are trying to enforce their will on this planet. I'm saying this is a certain exopolitical version.
Oh, I believe that, Alfred, and I believe there's also the infusion of many other extraterrestrial species with us here on Earth. Our planet and our solar system is at the rim of the Milky Way galaxy. It's kind of like the wild, wild west, and over countless millennia, many species have come and gone, and scientists have noted that most every human has what they call junk DNA,
Huh?
but I don't think God makes any mistakes, and it's not junk DNA. It's there for a reason. It's probably residual from various alien contact and interbreeding. Otto Binder wrote this book called Children of the Stars
Mhm.
back in the 1960s and explained all about this. He called it the extraterrestrial hybrid hypothesis.
I see.
Yeah, I definitely concur with that.
Yeah, yeah. So the distinction with Venus is the bees because we don't have that bee legacy on Earth
Well, we do in some people.
in
Uh,
some people.
and um, well, I just believe that in the universe, it's the material universe is all composed of the same elements everywhere you go, and that in the material universe, that evolution is a natural consequence uh, of matter, and that so we do have um, we do have a connection with all forms of life throughout the known universe.
Right, right. Well, thank you very much for this presentation. I myself was just in a constant state of amazement as at the amount of information, and I think that I myself and perhaps many of our viewers will just watch and rewatch this because it's brand new information and loads of it for all of us. We're just finding this out for the first time.
Thank you, Alfred, and it was Rob's idea, together with me, to collect all these questions from the people, from the
Right,
grassroots,
right.
and to find out what they wanted to know about Venus.
Yeah. And as you noticed, this these questions were gathered at a German at a European uh, uh, UFO conference, correct?
Yes, and also from Rob's website, The Promise Revealed, as people
I
would
see.
would write to him, and then um, he thought, rather than me constantly trying to answer these questions, that to just um, time after time after time, to just get them all together, and then we would answer them when we got to Germany at the conference.
That is so interesting. It's just fascinating. I know that this presentation that you made merits such careful study and restudy for those of us who are just coming upon this information for the first time and initially being introduced to Venus and to the Venusians and to understanding their role. So thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. I wanted to make it not only informative but also entertaining, and
Oh yeah.
I hope I did that.
Oh yeah, that definitely.
I think people will enjoy it. They'll enjoy it because not only will they learn they
Oh,
learn from it, but they'll appreciate that Venusians have a good sense of humor too.
oh yes, yes.
If they ever also go to hear my friend Omnek Onek give a talk, they'll also find out that she has an equally good sense of humor about it.
Oh, excellent. Excellent. Well, are there any other issues that you wanted to mention about this particular uh
Well, if people do have questions, if they want to send them to you, and then if you could forward them to me,
great.
and I'd be happy to answer them at like a mailbag kind of thing in
Oh, sure.
future broadcasts.
Oh, sure.
And
Sure.
I have no
Oh,
problem with that.
oh, excellent. Okay. Well, don't go away because I'd like to ask you a couple of questions off the air.
Okay.
So good. So
Oh,
thank you very much then.
oh, you're welcome. And for those other two um, PowerPoints that I made in 2013 upon returning uh, from Venus. I'd be happy to show those at some future date as well.
Oh, you see, we had no idea that you had these riches in store. Of course.
Those were made to the Coast to Coast radio discussion group in Cleveland, Ohio.
Oh, good. So why don't we be in communication then and set dates? I I will send you an email and you can so we can set dates and times to to do presentations on those two and and on any others. You see, we didn't know that you had this store of
Oh yeah, very few people
riches.
know. I mean, I don't have my own website, and
Oh,
I don't, I just go travel around
sure.
largely locally to West Virginia, Ohio, and Pennsylvania to
Oh,
small UFO clubs or paranormal groups. So,
oh,
so I
this
really
is great.
appreciate, being on your podcast and
Oh,
sharing this
great. Oh,
information
great.
to a
Well,
larger
then we,
audience.
oh, sure. So let me, what we'll do is as soon as this is over, I'll be sending you, so that you can, we can schedule those two and any other, um, uh, presentations that, that you would like to make, that you would like to make. Thank
Thank you, Alfred.
you
That would
very,
be
very
great.
much. Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, and for this presentation today, great kudos and thank you so much. I mean, we're just almost speechless with the amount of information that we learned and will now have to absorb. This just has left us in a totally elevated state. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, then. Um, until we meet soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, then. Great.